Hey, welcome, jerks. It's good to be back tonight. Sorry, I'm a little late. We're talking in the green room with state rep Nick is what I'm going to call him tonight. Last name Boldyga. I think I said it right. He is here. We're excited. I'm going to talk about the witness intimidation law. You've heard me talk a lot about that on this show recently. How it's even affected me, but especially Aidan and other people too, like Rich that we had on just a little while ago. I'm looking for my rubber duckies, about the rubber duckies. We're going to do something maybe about the rubber duckies tonight. I'm excited to have a Massachusetts state rep on the show to discuss this. He made some posts on Twitter and X, and after the Rich show where I brought up some of his posts, his chief of staff reached out to me, was like, can we get him on the show? I'm like, yes, I was already thinking that. And we were already exchanging Twitter posts. I'm really excited about this. This is going to be fun tonight. We may even get Aidan Kearney might call in a little bit later on the show tonight too. So buckle in, guys and girls, ladies especially. A lot of ladies following us. Really appreciate everyone in the chat. It's been a tough couple last weeks if you've been in the Free Karen Reed movement and immersed like I have. It's been a little depressing. It's one of the reasons I haven't done a show in a little while. Some of my shows are screwed up the last few weeks too, where I kept muting myself. But tonight, I think we're going to be a little better. I think tonight's going to be good because we're focusing on what we can do, which is try to change a law, which is not easy in Massachusetts. I was involved, as many of you know, with decrim medical and legal for cannabis. It took us decades. Hopefully, this will be a lot quicker because this needs to change. This witness intimidation law, where if you make someone uncomfortable who's a witness, who could be a criminal, who could be a serial killer like James Fleming was. Remember Fleming was a serial killer? He was also a government witness. If you made him uncomfortable, if you were a family member that had someone that was killed by him, and you made him uncomfortable with a comment, you could have been charged with witness intimidation. This is what we're up against in Massachusetts. The law it's crazy. It's not like anywhere else where it actually has to be a real threat. It can be what the law enforcement thinks makes someone uncomfortable, which is very subjective and really tough to do journalism when you're talking about criminal cases in Massachusetts. And it's affected me 2 different times in the last year or two here. People threaten me with witness intimidation just for reporting. One of them was just posting a video that showed that the witness probably was full of shit. So let's bring up the state rep. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm a little amped up. Let's bring up Massachusetts State Rep Nick Boldyga. I think I said her name right. And let's find out about him before we get into this witness intimidation, who he is, what he's about, maybe his little backstory. Welcome, Nick.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. You said my name right. It was perfect.
Excellent. You helped me.
Yeah, what's going on? I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you. Tell us about yourself, because some people know you, some people don't. Some people are excited. A lot of people are excited about this, just based on your Twitter post. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been a state rep in Massachusetts for the last 14 years. I'm a Republican, so part of the super minority here in Massachusetts. And before that, I was a local elected official. I was a selectman for a number of years. I was on a park and rec commission for a few years. My wife's been involved in the community as a school committee teacher, so we've always been involved in the community. And in my backstory, before I even became a state rep, I'm actually a recovering police officer. I was a police officer for about 5 years, full time. I've graduated from 2 police academies. I was actually a police officer in Connecticut. The first time I went through a full-time police academy, was a full-time police officer. And then while I was a state rep, I actually wanted to see what police recruits went through in Western Massachusetts. And as I was a state rep, I went through the part-time, I think it was 4 or 6 months, police academy in Western Massachusetts. And that was just a few years ago, to see what the experience was like in Massachusetts. So I was a police officer for a number of years. And then about 20, I think I'm trying to think of what year it was. It was probably about 20 years ago this year, somewhere around there. My wife and I had bought our first home together. I was becoming active in the community, learning about government. In college, I was active in the student senate. I was on all these boards, so I kind of got experienced with student senate and all this type of stuff. I loved volunteering and being involved and had a blast there. And so always kind of had a passion for public service. Being a police officer, student senate in college, and then we bought our first home. And I was like, geez, you've got to pay all these real estate taxes on a house. I wonder where the heck they go, and what do I get for my real estate taxes? And I think I was 24 or 25 when I bought my first home. And so I was at some event in town, and I ended up meeting the state representative at the time. And the person, still involved in the local community, God bless her heart, very nice individual, but just a train wreck of somebody you don't want in politics, right? So I said, wow, this person, and in Massachusetts, obviously, if you're not aware, if you're watching the show, Massachusetts is only one of 9 states in the country where it's a full-time legislature. You get a salary, you go to Boston, so it's not like Connecticut. I think you get, I don't know, it's a couple of bucks a year to be a state representative. New Hampshire, I think you have to pay them to be a state representative in New Hampshire, and there's 1,000 of them. So I met this state representative and was just mind blown that this person was going to Boston, voting on laws. I was a police officer at the time, and I just couldn't believe this. So I went home, and my wife said, what's going on? I said, I was at this event. I just met the state representative, and we either have to sell this house and move, or I'm running for office. And she said, we just moved in. I just unpacked the last of the boxes, so we're not moving. And I said, well, I'm running for state rep then. So I had no idea how to run for state representative. I'm from Massachusetts my entire life. I've lived in Western Massachusetts. I was born in Pittsfield. I graduated from high school in the Berkshires, went to college in Springfield, and then just ended up staying out here in Western Massachusetts. So from the area, lived here, no idea how to run for office. And I ran twice for state representative. I ran in 2008, and I lost by 1 or 2 percentage points. And then was so close, I knew I was still going to stay involved. I ran for selectman after that in the town of Southwick, won that race. And then I ran for state representative again the next year, which was in 2010. And I beat that incumbent in a very narrow race. So that's my story on how I became a state representative. Always wanted to be involved. And my time as a state representative has been, I've always gone to Boston, and I'm the guy that's putting up a stink, trying to reform all the laws, the guy voting no, saying that this isn't right, we shouldn't do this. And I'm very proud to say that I have one of the worst office spaces at the State House, and I'm probably one of the lowest paid state reps.
Are you in the basement?
I'm not in the basement. I'm just 1 floor above, but I have one of the worst offices. It's absolutely horrible. I rarely go into it, and I'm one of the lowest paid state reps, and I wear both of those things as a badge of honor. I know I'm doing something right. I'm making no money compared to everybody else there, and I've got the worst office space. So, and I think probably after this podcast and some of my tweets this week, I think my card badge access is going to be removed for me to get into the State House. So that's a little bit on me.
I see today too, there's quite a commotion about who's going to lead the House GOP, the minority, who's going to be the leader. Do you want to comment on that? Because it seems like you did make some posts about that. One thing I was shocked to see is that so many of these Republicans who are in the leadership for the minority in the State House were against Diana DiZoglio's audit the legislature. But again, I'm not surprised because they're institutionalists, isn't it? I mean, that to me is so shocking that the Republicans don't seize up on these issues that clearly the Democrats are wrong about, especially considering the public supports the audit. I mean, they want the legislator audited, and here are the Republicans against it. Like, what is going on there?
Yeah. So, I mean, to your point, you're exactly right. So, that vote, I was absolutely shocked too. So, I mean, one of the things about that vote was, I don't even remember the date, but it was somewhere right after the November election, right? And I know you mentioned to me you're a liberal. That's fine. I love liberals. Some of my best friends are liberals. We don't agree on anything, and I'm never going to vote with you, but we should grab a beer after this and have fun and just duke it out with a debate, right? And have a great time. And that's how I've always approached politics, and I've tried to do that, but you're exactly right. So after that audit vote was right after the heels of the national election. So you think as Republicans, right? Trump won the presidency. They got the House. They got the Senate. There'd be some wind in their sails. They'd go down to the State House in Boston and just give the Democrats hell, right? So I get in there and I'm thinking that, most of these guys are going to vote with DiZoglio and vote to audit the legislature. And the reality of the fact is you were spot on. The Republicans that didn't vote for that bill are the institutionalized ones. It's about being, the Beacon Hill machine, if you will, right? It's the uniparty. And, one of the things I talked about today was, and over the last number of, years, or, the 14 years that I've been a Republican in Massachusetts, is I'm always saying, hey guys, listen, I didn't run for office to enrich myself. Like I said, I've got one of the lowest paid salaries, the worst offices, and I love it. I sleep well at night. There's nothing you're going to take away from me. I can vote how I want to. I go down there and say what I want to. And the only people I have to answer to are the voters in my district. And I'm going to continue to do that. And I was just really surprised and obviously disappointed that on the heels of a national election where the Republicans swept everything, that our caucus was not, united and unified on that vote. And I think, it's number one, those people are institutionalized. Most of those people have been here for, 30 plus years. They're going along with the speaker because they don't want to upset them. They want to get their little things in the budget, whatever it may be. And then on top of that, one of the reasons why I absolutely think there's really no elected Republicans in Massachusetts to begin with is because of votes like that. One of the things I've always heard over the years, I've worked on campaigns, I've helped people run campaigns around Massachusetts, obviously Republicans. And, one of the things I heard this fall was too, in a couple of campaigns I was volunteering on, we'd be reaching out on an issue per se, right? And we'd say, hey, listen, do you know that the Democrats voted on this bad issue? And the resounding, narrative back was, well, how did the Republicans vote? And in Massachusetts, they usually all vote with the Democrats.
Yeah.
With the same. So it's a uniparty. So as the Republican Party, and it's the same with Democrats, right? Let's say if we're in another state where the Republicans are a super majority and the Democrats are a super minority, if the Democrats aren't giving people a reason to vote for them, no one's ever going to vote for them. So I think that, that's what we have to focus on here as being a Republican Party in Massachusetts, especially a super minority like this, is if you're not giving people just a different, viewpoint or different option when they go to the ballot, why would anybody vote for a Republican if they're just going to vote the same as the Democrats? So, and obviously having more transparency in government is always a good thing, allowing audits, allowing, bills to be read before votes, little things like that are important when it comes to, being in government. So yeah, I do think a lot of the issues with Beacon Hill is it's a machine, and a lot of people are institutionalized and they're there to just protect the machine and keep oiling the wheels as it just, slugs along and through the hallways there. So yeah, I was disappointed to see that the Republicans were not united on that vote.
It's funny you said, I'm going to disagree with you on something, because you
Okay.
said one thing. You said that we with a liberal, we're not going to agree on anything. Well, I'm agreeing with you about
That's
number
right.
one, the audit of the legislature. Like that
Yep.
has to happen, which was sponsored by obviously Diana DiZoglio, who is a Democrat, but most of the electeds, the Democrats, are against it in the state house. And also this witness intimidation thing. I think that's
Yep.
what a lot of us, for me anyways, like I don't care about what party people are with. If we can work on something that we agree on things together, that's like the most important thing, more than any, like, because half the time it doesn't mean anything. Like there's so many Democrats that I've been against because they do, like you said, they're institutionalists. They put their finger in the wind. Whatever the boss says, that's what they're doing, and that's it. Like so, like I'm really happy that you're here to talk about some of these other issues. But the big one is this witness intimidation. Like you made a post. I was so happy to see it. I saw Aidan immediately like reposted it or commented. That's what got my attention. And I was like, holy shit, here we go. I've been waiting for this. I was wondering who was actually going to stand up and stick up for us, especially journalists, but even, people just posting on Twitter, just average citizens holding signs, Rich, who got all these felonies for this, thank God they got thrown out. But he was looking at years in jail just for this little protest with a rubber ducky that he gave me.
Yeah.
So tell us how you came to it and what are you trying to do about it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for, refocusing on me on that issue, Mike, because you're right. The reason I'm here is because we agree. So there are going to be a lot of issues that we do agree on. So I agree on the witness intimidation, the audit, 100%. And and just to pivot on that real quick, if there's people listening to the show, if you're a liberal or if you're a Republican, whatever it is, we do need to work more with each other, because if you're concerned about issues, you're concerned about making a difference, the whole party thing, we've just got to kind of get past. It's unfortunate that, it seems like for our foreseeable lives anyway, it's going to be a two-party system, but we have to just put those aside for more often and really start focusing on some issues so we can make some headway. So back to the issue, the rubber ducky there is exactly why I got involved. So I saw the article on the rubber ducky, and then just to back up a little bit of my experience with the Karen Reed trial. I'll admit I am not an ardent follower of the trial. I watched some of it here and there, probably a few hours at the beginning, whatever it may be, but I nowhere near followed it as well as a lot of people probably that watch your show, obviously that you did, Aidan's show, whatever it may be. But one of the things is, like I said, I was a police officer. I'm obviously now a legislator. So I've done a lot of different careers within and, law enforcement, and then obviously law, drafting legislation, whatever it may be. And I can't imagine that when I was a police officer, I would have put any amount of energy into doing an investigation of someone that dropped a rubber duck on the street, especially when it came to witness intimidation. I just can't fathom that. And, I don't know the specifics of the case or what, if anybody was instructed by their, supervisor, law enforcement supervisor to investigate the rubber ducks, incident.
I think definitely. Let me
Yeah.
just tell you about that.
Please interject with information, because
it was it was like 30 something page report. They pulled cameras, they followed them around. I interviewed the gentleman on the street at a standout outside the police station, and they spent like 4 or 5 pages on that. They like basically transcribed my interview, and like they got almost everything right. Like they even spelled my name correctly, even the young jerks they got right. Like I was shocked how much detail and time they put into this. So yes, they assigned a police officer, and it was like, it reminded me of like what they do to like terrorists or like, MS-13 drug dealers. Like it was like, this is a big investigation. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. So like I said, I can't imagine me when I was a police officer putting any amount of energy into that case. And the way I looked at it when I saw that is obviously this is just personal to these people up there. This is more of a vendetta. One of the things that, so when I saw that, I just said, enough's enough. But that wasn't what the kind of the straw. I had been paying attention, over the last several months, and had heard about a lot of the other witness intimidation cases going on, and just knew obviously that this was more of a targeting of people that either weren't liked or that, this is freedom of speech issue, right? So, these people want to talk out about a case that's going on right now, and they're not intimidating anybody. There's no physical threat. Witness intimidation is, I'm, threatening harm or, doing a bribe for someone to stop testifying in a case. That's what witness intimidation is. And it's not just dropping rubber ducks on the street for the random happenstance that someone picks them up and then it just says a name on it. That is not intimidation. It's a freedom of speech. We have freedom of speech protections in the Constitution. We have witness intimidation laws on the books. We have criminal harassment laws on the books and harassment laws on the books. And those are all different laws that if someone's harassing you, you're going to be arrested for harassment. If it's truly witness intimidation, you're going to be arrested for witness intimidation. And, a lot of the people don't understand that. Feelings get in the way, emotions get in the way. But one of the things I had talked to, a couple of the attorneys involved in the case over the last week or so. And, I learned that I knew there was a handful of people. I didn't know how many, but apparently roughly 15 people have been arrested for witness intimidation. And every one of them was released on, the charges were thrown out. And just recently, the judges have started to write scathing opinions that, these the witness intimidation statutes being abused. So it looks to me that's clearly what's going on. And if someone was truly being harassed, criminally harassed, assaulted, etc., a police officer is going to arrest those people and charge them with harassment or assault, not
Yeah.
witness intimidation. And if somebody's being, harassed or assaulted, then absolutely they should be arrested for it. You can't, weaponize a statute just because you're not happy with someone's, exercising their First Amendment rights. And that's what I saw going on. So I just said, enough's enough. We've got to bring some attention to this at the State House, attention to my colleagues in the legislature, and hopefully we can move forward on this. I know I read the statute years ago, but it's been a long time since I read it. I actually read it, I don't know, within the last week. And as I was reading the witness intimidation statute, I actually thought I might get arrested on the spot. I was looking around to see if
Seriously,
I had done anything wrong. And I'm looking over my shoulder just as I'm by myself reading the witness intimidation statute, thinking, God, I think anybody could be arrested for anything under this statute right now. So it absolutely needs to be reworked. And I think it's just going to be, we need people like you, and just a broad coalition to come together at the State House over the next, whatever it may be, the next session, however many months that is, to kind of bring awareness to this issue and get it reformed.
Yeah, I talked to an attorney when I got threatened earlier this year in January, and he basically told me that I shouldn't even do a show.
Oh wow!
Like because basically they could do whatever they want. Anything I say about this case can be used as it's unbelievable. We have
unbelievable.
There's no line. It's just if they feel like you've overstepped it, they can charge you.
Yeah, that's insane that you can't talk about a case without being, under the fear of being arrested for a felony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's gotten really, for average people too, like the amount of trips they took to people's homes, like we watched them. People recorded them, some didn't, all the messages that we got for people just, sending messages to people, saying, I think you're guilty of something, just a random viewer, listener. They send the wrong message to the wrong person. Next thing you know, the state police are at their house. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, when I hear things like that, there's no question in my mind that it's the weaponization of the statute. If the intent of the person is not to make some witness not testify, I don't see how you're charging them with witness intimidation. Massachusetts actually has one of the obviously the broadest statute when it comes to witness intimidation. Other states, almost every other state around the country, does not have a statute like this on the books. It's very specific, can only be used obviously with the intent of the person to make somebody not testify in a case. It's very specific. And then also two other states around the country have protections for, journalists in place. And I think, that's the other thing I've noticed with, just over the last, whatever it's been, week, 10 days. I mean, obviously, like I've said, for the last 20-ish years at this point, I've been a police officer and an elected official in Massachusetts. So I've had the experience of having a lot of people yell at me in multiple capacities. And with my my posts on social media, it's been I guess a re-energized group of people who have been screaming at me about my willingness to reform the witness intimidation statute. It's been pretty interesting, the comments in the DMs I've received on X. So I've had to open up my my acronym dictionary to figure out what all the swears have meant over the last 10 days. It's been interesting.
It's not funny. They're because they're the ones. It's funny. Some of those people who are the biggest trolls online, they still haven't realized that they could actually be charged with witness intimidation too for what they do, which is they're not smart. Like they're the ones that come at me, and I actually might be a witness in something. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing is,
I feel like they've made me uncomfortable. I mean, it's just like it's so stupid. It really is stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people too don't realize, a lot of these comments they make, if they cross the line, you only need a few interactions and you're now looking at a criminal harassment charge. So, if they want to keep, if they want to, threaten people with physical violence or whatever it may be, that falls right under the criminal harassment charges. So, you can look at that too. I mean, and be arrested for your conduct on online, or because the statutes are updated obviously once the internet came around and social media and text messages and everything else. So now the statutes have been, updated to include that. So it could be witness intimidation or criminal harassment or whatever it may be. But yeah, it's been it's been an eye opener the last, whatever it is, week or so.
I bet. I'm so used to it now, but I remember back in the day when I first had Aidan on the show.
I can only imagine. Yeah. I've seen.
There's one person who kept making videos about me. I think she's got other people to be angry at now. So, but
well, I remember I've been doing this for so long before Facebook and Twitter were really around. The first couple times I ran for office, the local newspapers would have an online anonymous forum. So you could type in, whatever, Mike XYZ123, and then just go on there, and it would just be typing whatever insult you wanted to against the, whatever insult or acquisition or conspiracy theory you wanted to type against somebody running for office. And it was always anonymous. I mean, it was a hoot to look at these things. But, now we've got, memes and video and interactions and little pictures you can insult people with. So it is pretty amazing what we've done with the internet.
Yeah, now they have AI. The new thing, AI.
And AI too.
Oh man.
Yep.
They don't even have to do it. They just like press a button or something. I don't even know. I don't spend my time doing that stuff. Now I want to ask you, you did get an endorsement, I noticed, from the union of the state police.
I did.
On your last election. Do you feel like you'll get any pushback for kind of supporting something like this with the witness intimidation changing it? Do you think they'll have an issue with it?
It's a good question. I, as a former police officer, I mentioned that I personally would not have an issue with it. If, I mean, but that's me. I'm not, I bet you if there's somebody, using the statute in the way that they shouldn't, but they could because the wording's there and they're aware of that. But, I would hope that they would want it to be changed to protect law-abiding citizens. I mean, the way I've always approached legislation and statutes is I would never want somebody in my family, a friend, or just a person, just a regular person, just like this, having a statute that could be weaponized against them for somebody with ill intentions, and to basically, harass them, ruin their life, arrest them. I never want to see that happen to anybody. It's one of the reasons I stepped up and you and I are talking right now is because we all need to bring this to attention, whether it's witness intimidation or it's some other law on the books right now that needs to be reformed. Somebody mentioned to me the other day that unfortunately the recent gun law that passed, some of the things that were in that gun law make law-abiding gun owners, felons overnight, the way that was rewritten. I would never want that to happen to anybody, especially somebody that's an upstanding citizen of their community, goes out and works every day, grinds out a living, is paying their taxes and just trying to, take care of themselves and their families. I don't think we need to use any law on the books to ruin an innocent person's life. So I hope they still support me. And if they don't, obviously that's a risk I was willing to take when I did this.
Excellent. You did say you were former law enforcement. What do you think? Do you think other law enforcement kind of get the point on this, that it's too much, or how do you think they feel about it? Do you talk to them? I'm just wondering.
So, this came about so quick within the last, this filing and talking to you. I haven't specifically asked any police officers, what their feelings are on this specific statute. And only because I can tell you probably 9.5 out of 10 cops never deal with a witness intimidation statute. It's probably only somebody out of the DA's office that's a state trooper dealing with a specific court case like this that would go out and actually utilize a witness intimidation statute. So it's probably a very finite group of, state troopers out of a DA's office around the state that would ever even come into contact with somebody that they would be arresting for witness intimidation. Every other cop in a municipality, I don't even know if they've read a witness intimidation statute. When I was a police officer, I don't know if I ever even had I know I probably did. I know I didn't arrest somebody for a witness intimidation violation, but I don't even know if I had read that when I was a police officer. I just don't think most police officers deal with it, and most state police officers probably do not deal with it. It's probably just a handful of guys out of the DA's offices.
Now, Turtleboy was arrested for witness intimidating state police, basically over his questions and his words and his statements. Do you feel like that? Like, to me, that's a joke. Like, I can't imagine that they were actually intimidated by his words and his questions. But do you like, you're a former police officer? Do you think someone like Turtleboy or any member of the press or any journalist could witness intimidate a Massachusetts state police officer?
Well, and just refresh me too. Did he already go to court on that and it was tossed out?
I don't believe so. I
Okay.
believe they basically, when there was an incident where he was trying to show up at Karen Reed trial,
Okay.
and some of the witnesses were there, and basically the judge basically said, "Yeah, I'm not going to enforce it with the police officers," because I think the judge even thought it was crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I mean, but as far as I know, those haven't been tossed out at all.
Yeah. So basically, when you're a police officer, I can't think of the term right now, but when somebody approaches you and they're swearing at you and everything else, it really doesn't apply to you as a police officer. It's basically First Amendment protected speech, and yeah, it would not fly as a witness intimidation. You know, if somebody was swearing at a state trooper or a police officer or anything like that, I mean, you'd have to, like, once again, you'd have to prove intent that anything he said to the state police officer was solely to make sure that that police officer did not testify in court. I think that's one of the other things. Just I think it was within the last week, the SJC also reaffirmed that the witness intimidation statute has to be the intent of the person making any type of comments or actions, or is solely focused on making sure that the witness does not testify. If that's a bribe, if that's a physical threat of harm, their sole intention is to make sure the person does not take the stand. So just swearing at somebody or dropping a rubber ducky around town is not going to cut it. And it just further kind of solidified our First Amendment protections. And that's what this country was founded upon: being able to share your opinion in public without being arrested, sometimes getting an unjust trial, and then serving a life sentence in prison, or possibly even executed, right? Back in the 17 or 1800s. So I think a lot of the judges, and even the recent one, with the rubber ducky guy, same thing. They're writing opinions that this is outlandish. You're abusing the statute. Even if the guy's actions were, what did the judge say, sophomoric or something like that? It does not rise to the level of witness intimidation.
Aidan is in the chat too. He posted a couple comments. He said he sent me a link to Sergeant Buchanan's when he basically, why not? We may play that video a little bit later. He basically walked up to him and basically asked him questions and called him a loser. I mean, that's it. That's all it is. Ask him questions, call him a loser. Yeah. And it never said anything about testifying, none of that. So it's crazy. Here's the comment. He says, Bukaki, as we call him, said he felt intimidated by me asking him questions and calling him a loser. He had a gun. I didn't. I mean, that to me is who's got a gun? Who's got a badge? Let's see how they could be scared of someone asking them questions or calling them a loser. I mean, they must get called a loser a lot, I imagine, when you're.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that as a police officer you're expected to deal with, and that's the courts have ruled on that pretty unanimously and regularly over the last however many decades, that people's First Amendment rights to speech and whether or not they're swearing at you are protected, and you can't just arrest them for it.
Yeah. How do we get this passed? Like, what's the process? Like, what do we need to do as YouTubers, as people who support us? What should they be doing?
Yeah, so I had actually thought about filing this legislation this fall. And the reason I didn't was because obviously this is an election year, and then we go back to the State House in January and we get sworn in January. And if I had filed it in the fall, in like September or October, nothing would have happened with it, and I would have just had to refile it in January. So we go back on, we get sworn in on January 1st for the new session. The new session begins on January 1st. And then a couple of weeks after that, all the new legislation is filed for the year. So I'll be filing the legislation then. I'm working with a couple of give me a second here, Mike. I'm getting some text messages too. I want to just make sure I'm not missing any
No
points here.
worries. Yeah, I'm wondering
And
if you got any Democrats supporting it, or is it
well,
Republicans mostly?
so that's the issue. So we haven't got there yet. So I'm hoping we get there. And so the way it would work is we all go back in January 1st. I'm going to work with a couple of attorneys who are more of an expert matters on the witness intimidation statutes on how we should also kind of mirror this to other states around the country, and make this not so broad. So you just can't weaponize the statute to do what it's specifically there to do, is to protect witnesses, not to use it against innocent people and violate their First Amendment rights. So I'm going to file legislation in January. I think it's around the second or third week. I'm going to try to get a couple of liberals to work with me on that. Usually the conservatives and the liberals actually work together on good government stuff and restricting law enforcement. So we do get along on that.
Was it like Mike Conley? Is he in?
Yeah. So I was actually saying that the other day to somebody. So Mike Conley was out there, and then
I figured it had to be him.
Yeah. So
is
the
he
way
in the basement still too? Or is he moved out? He must have moved out by now.
he might have. It's funny. I don't really know where anybody's offices are.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's so many offices in the State House. It's like you walk. I'm still learning my way around. I've been there for 14 years. It's a big building, but so yeah, we file legislation in January, and I think the way this is going to shake out is, once we get that filed, it's about building, coalitions with everybody. It's about bringing awareness to it. Hopefully I'll be back on your show talking about the legislation.
Definitely.
Aidan will be talking about it. And then it's about, doing press releases, but also press conferences at the State House, right? So bills are assigned committees. So once it gets assigned to a committee, a hearing will be scheduled for it. I don't know. I can't give you a timeline. Could be 6 months to a year. I'm not sure. But when that, we'll do regular press conferences on it and press releases on the bringing awareness to the reforming the law. We'll do, we can do some, a day at the State House, a couple of those before the committee hearing. The day of the committee hearing, we're going to try to put together broad coalitions of people to come into the State House. People that have actually been arrested for the, I'm sure the rubber ducky guy, hopefully
like
we'll have
Rich Schiffer. Yeah,
exactly. Hopefully Rich is one of those people that comes into the State House with us. Even you were threatened with arrest for doing, speaking on the issue, right? Like speaking on the issue on a podcast and being threatened with witness intimidation is outlandish. So hopefully all of those people come in and testify how this has negatively impacted their lives. You thought about not doing your show, those type
took
of
a break.
Stories.
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
Yeah.
And
So
there's another group of people that we call them the Canton Nine who they were threatened too, and thank God the magistrate. I mean, they were threatened over almost a year. Just recently, it was decided they're not going to be charged, but they all had lawyers too. So there's a bunch of there's other people too we haven't even heard from that haven't gone public, but we hear the stories. So there's at least, I would say, a dozen related to the Karen Reed, if not more, probably closer to 24. So
yeah,
there's a bunch of us.
And then that point too, is this now a civil rights violation, right? Is the DA's office weaponizing this statute to chill free speech, right? So it's another avenue that needs to be taken in consideration. These people need to testify before the committee on how this is this has negatively impacted their lives, or possibly destroyed their lives, with an arrest, et cetera, et cetera. And just building awareness around the issue. I don't think it's going to be a quick issue. And first of all, nothing in Massachusetts is a quick issue unless really the top of the echelon of the machine wants it done. Then it's a quick issue. If working class stiffs like me and you want something done, no, it's not going to be quick. We have to really build a coalition around it and make a lot of noise. And I think that there's a good amount of people that have really been impacted by this, and I think we can make a lot of noise over the next whatever 6 months to a year, 2 years that the session is, and to get this done. And I'm energetic about it. I'm positive, but I also know I'm realistic, and I also know how like you said, institutionalized these people are, and and how bad things can get when statutes like this aren't reformed. So I think we just need to stay on the issue. Have people keep talking about it, how it needs to change, and also just be more in line with almost every other state in the country's witness intimidation statute. And also too, other states have laws in place to protect journalists. One of the things that, some of the, I don't even know what you want to call them, trolls or whoever it may be. I don't know what term to use, but the people that are very upset with, Turtleboy's personality, right? That's not why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this for any one person. I'm doing this for the entirety of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. If there's a bad statute on the books that's being used against anybody, whether that's somebody that supports Karen Reed or somebody that doesn't support Karen Reed or whoever it may be, like each and every individual in Massachusetts should not have to worry about a statute being abused and weaponized to put an innocent person in jail. And that's why this needs to be reformed. And that's why I'm energetic about working on it.
Excellent. What about the ACLU? Have they said anything about this, or do you think that they would help you out on it?
Oh, let me just grab a quick drink here.
Oh, yeah. I need one too.
I know. Caught something in my throat here. So, I mean, that's one of the things too, right? Like, I would really hope that the ACLU would think that this would be a very important issue that they should take on. And it's, regardless of how this came to be in Massachusetts with this very polar case that, this very polar, death in this case that happened, I would hope that regardless of that, they see that, for instance, 15 people were arrested because of this, the weaponization of this statute. All were let off of the charges. All were let free with no issue, and that this needs to be changed and it needs to be reformed. And I think it's more about, protecting the integrity of our judicial system here in Massachusetts, that statutes, whether it's, right now we're talking about witness intimidation, whether or not, next year some other statute is used to basically harass a group of people and chill their free speech because, that office doesn't want to hear it, or they're bothersome or annoying or whatever it may be. So I think that's the most important thing we need to do is that this is a free speech issue for every person across Massachusetts, that they should want this, they should want to see this changed, regardless of their personal feelings for any of the players involved in this story.
It's funny because Turtleboy makes a good point. A lot of these trolls live in other states where the witness intimidation statutes aren't like ours. Like, it's just funny how.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, I never thought about that. But you're right. Yeah, so they don't have to deal with what we're dealing with in Massachusetts. Those people would have never been arrested for what they're saying if they were out in public saying it. It's exactly right.
I also wonder about Howie Carr. Do you talk to him?
I have gone on the Howie Carr show. I haven't gone on recently. I don't know what timeline when the last time I was on. It was probably a couple of years ago. But I think back to when I said broad coalition, I think it's everybody. It's everybody on the left and right getting involved and saying, hey, we don't want anybody on either of our teams per se, having this come down on them for speaking their mind. Like I said, if this was some sort of political issue and somebody was, on the left saying something, I wouldn't want them being arrested for it, or I wouldn't want somebody on the right being arrested for whatever it was. I guess on a fake, bogus, abuse of a statute that needs to be absolutely overhauled and reformed. So I think, people just need to put the personal players aside and just realize that this is a much, much larger issue, and you don't want to go to jail for something that some police officer decides to arrest you for.
Yeah, the thing I like about Howie Carr is like his investigations, his how he exposes corruption. I don't like I said, I'm not really with his politics, but geez, we need someone like him, and he could definitely be charged for some of the things he's written, like especially about this Canton case with Karen Reed. Like, I've read some of his stuff, and I'm saying, geez, I wonder if he knows he could be charged with witness intimidation too. Like, that's how ridiculous this law is, that they could actually charge someone like Howard Carr. I don't think they will, because I think it will blow up in their face. I think what they try to do is try to find people that don't have the support of the Boston Herald, that don't have the support of a radio network to back them. Even myself, I feel like just having this little platform I have on YouTube, I think protects me more than it protects some of the other folks that were really faced with BS this year, with state police knocking at their doors, knocking at their neighbors' doors, coming to their mothers' homes. Like, they did some crazy stuff to mostly women who don't have a lot of power, that don't have the money or, the status, a radio show behind them. So I hopefully Howie Carr jumps on this too.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's one of the things I had never even thought of until I read the statute the other day, but you're absolutely right. Just somebody even covering the story could be could be charged with, if it's, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have the terminology in front of me. It was
Yeah,
emotional,
emotional harm or your
emotional harm.
emotional discomfort. If
Yes.
you make them uncomfortable. If I
Yes, yes, I mean, absolutely. So you can imagine that. Yes, if you were on your show, or if Howie Carr was on his radio show saying something, and one of the witnesses called in and said, "Oh, I heard that, and I felt emotionally uncomfortable or discomforted," yeah, they could show up
yeah.
on your doorstep and charge you with a felony. I mean,
And,
it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
and it's even worse than that too. Because the witness doesn't even have to be made to feel uncomfortable. The police or the law enforcement or the DA just have to think they might have been uncomfortable. Like
Yeah,
just the thought of it. That
yeah. That's one of the reasons why we have to make some noise on this, and move it forward, and hopefully that it's we get some progress on it. I'm just reading these comments here.
yeah, this is again what that's one officer, especially Buchanan. He just kept showing up at people's houses, and he would say things. Did you learn about the Karen Reed case on the internet? Like
Yeah, I
it
mean,
is like Big Brother. It really is.
yeah, I mean, and I think from what, like I said, I was not um, a very intimate viewer of the show. I didn't pay attention to everything, or not show,
Sure.
sorry, trial that went on. But it seemed like a show with the comments on social media. So I didn't pay attention to everything going on. But what I did see about some of the police officers were doing, the only thing that struck me as a former police officer is that this just seems so much more personal than it does an enforcement of the law. And that's what really struck me about the overall case is that unfortunately, the police officers were utilizing the law to really, or excuse me, abuse the law to their advantage, and it was really disappointing to see.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing that strikes me at this, how bogus it is like, especially myself and other people like me that have been watching Turtleboy all this time. We saw him criticize certain police officers at the state police, and then those are the ones that were investigating him. Those are the ones that came knocking at his door and arrested him. Like it seems like such a conflict of interest. It's so obvious why they're going after him, because he criticized them. He made them
Yeah,
look bad. And that is just not what we want in America. Like, I don't care who you are. You should be against that. Like, I don't care what party you're, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Green, unenrolled. Everyone should be against that. That
yeah.
is un-American. That you get criticize someone and now they're at your door with a badge and a gun, arresting you because you
Yeah.
criticize them. That
Well,
just doesn't seem right.
we're seeing some of that stuff go on in other countries right now. You've seen, I think it's the UK, where the other day, and I don't know the veracity of the article, whether or not it's true or something, but I do think it was on more of a legitimate news site on what I saw. But somebody posted something about migrants in Britain, and the police showed up and arrested them at their door and hauled them off to jail. I mean, the fact that other countries are now starting to monitor your social media posts and what you say politically, and then show up to your home and arrest you. Yeah, I mean, I would never want somebody, if they criticize me for being a Republican, that cops show up at their house, drag them out and put them in prison. I wouldn't want to be,
Yeah,
locked up for my political beliefs either, and I think it's just, if we don't stand up for this stuff now, we're going down that road, and that's what we need to really do. So I'm going to continue to fight for free speech, regardless of what anybody says, whatever personalities are involved in it. I think it's much larger than that. And I think that's what we need to focus on, is really coming together in Massachusetts and making sure that we can make some noise around this issue and have this reformed.
absolutely. I think every journalist should be supporting this. Like, if you're not,
Yeah.
you're just not. You don't know enough. Like, you
Well,
need to
actually, Mike,
research this.
I'm glad you said the word journalist. That was the other thing I wanted to touch base on. So some other states actually have
Shield.
statutes on the books to protect specifically journalists, and I think that's one of the other conversations that I'm having with some attorneys and some people that have more knowledge around that than I do, is also filing a law to protect journalists from what they say
Oh,
as well.
please, please,
Yeah,
I'm begging.
yeah.
Is that? Are you talking? Speaking of Betterow or Brado by
Yeah.
chance?
Yep. So
You
I've
are.
spoken to those guys, and I think we're going to try to work together on filing legislation to, in tandem with the witness intimidation reforms, file some legislation in tandem that protects journalists as well.
Excellent. We love them. Bettero made my show this year. I don't know if you know that, but he kept coming on, and
Oh, really?
yeah, I mean, he's amazing. He's a star. Bettero is every time I come it like lately, I think I had him on a week ago and people are already jonesing. They're always you gotta have Bettero back on. You gotta have him
Yeah,
back on.
yeah.
It's
So I
like
spoke to him. God, was it this week? I think it was this week. I spoke to him. Yeah, so he seemed like a great guy.
yeah.
So I'm hoping we can really work together and make some progress on this. But yeah, the journalist protections. Because I think one of the things that people don't realize is, you know, even for like a guy like me, right? I'm in politics, so I have to deal with journalists saying out, crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
we're kind of your enemy, right?
It's yes, 100%. I was going to go there. I don't know if I've really had a lot of positive interactions with journalists, Mike, but however, I do think it's important that we have journalists covering, people in politics, making sure the real stories are told. And I would just say for journalists, I absolutely think they're important. One of the things that always just frustrated me about is how, and obviously we've seen it, with the advent of fake news and everything else, journalists really have to, it's difficult to put your politics aside, right? If you're a political person. And that's what journalists really have to do. If the Republicans doing something wrong, lambaste them on it. If the Democrats are doing something wrong, lambaste them on it, and I think, back to, what you saw this morning. I mean, right now I'm putting up a fight against the Republicans at the State House, and a lot of them aren't happy with me. A lot of them are swearing at me, but it's not, it's not why I didn't run for office to go along to get along. And if you're doing something that's not right, I'm going to call you out on it. And I sleep really well at night and I'm fine with it.
I love that you said that a couple of times tonight. You sleep really well at night because the trolls, for some reason, think I don't sleep well at night. And
right,
I got to tell them, since I left AIG in 2008,
right,
I sleep very well.
exactly. Yeah,
I got out of an industry where I couldn't sleep well at night. I walk dogs for a living and do this show. I'm living the life. I sleep so well at night. It's not even funny. It's so important in life to like be happy with what you're doing. And
I was gonna say, so if you're happy with this podcast, you love what you're doing, you're bringing awareness to the issues, and I mean that's what's important, right? I mean that's how I've always approached what I do as a legislator. I'm not, like I said, I love the fact that I'm one of the lowest paid legislators and I've got the worst offices. I love it. There's nothing they can do to me. I see all these other reps that I know, they need the stipend. They depend on the 20 grand a year. So I'm like, you're going to vote for this and you don't want to, but you really need the 20 grand a year. And I'm like, well, you do know 20 grand after taxes is like
10,
12,
15,
10, right?
Yeah, whatever.
Like, so you're going to sell out, and that's on both sides.
So people that don't know, I know what you're talking about, the stipend, but some people don't know. The stipend is if you go along with leadership and they put you on like that, the head of the committee, right? You get an extra, it's like being a coach when you're a teacher, you get an extra paycheck on top of it, right? Is that?
Yep. Yeah. So the way the stipends work is if you're in the leadership, you get depending on the position that you get, and since I've never been there, Mike, I don't even know the dollar amounts anymore. To real quick on the pay, real quick backstory, and also too, you'll notice with me if we keep talking for a little while longer, I tangent off on the side stories. So bring me back to the official point.
These are good ones.
So when I first was running for office. And the first year I lost, obviously. And then the second time I ran, it looked like I was going to win. And we were really hustling. And my wife and I hoped I won. And it was like, I'd already been campaigning for like 8 months. And it was a couple weeks before the election. And she looks at me and she goes, does this job pay anything? Do you know what it pays? And I go, I don't have a clue what this job pays. And she goes, so do you need another job too? And I go, I might. I have no idea what this job pays. Yeah. So I never knew what the job paid. I don't know what the stipends are because I don't have one. So I think they start at like 20 grand, and I think they go for the Republicans. I think it goes up to like 70, and for the Democrats, I think it goes from like 20 up to like 100.
Wow, I didn't know it was that much.
Extra.
Yeah. So if you go along with your leadership, you get paid more. I mean, that's a hell of an incentive to go with the institution. Right. Now I get why these Republicans go along with the bosses. They get paid more if they do it. That's a lot more money.
Yeah, and then I mean the other thing we're up against, Mike, is
does your wife ever say, "Hey, man, take the extra money"?
No, we've
You
been,
got a good wife.
my wife and I have been together now. In a few months, we've been together for 23 years. So she knows me by now. So
Congratulations. That's
thank you.
great.
So usually I come home and I go, so just so you're aware, I said a bunch of stuff on social media today, and a lot of people are upset with me. So I want to put that out there. So if somebody says something to you in public today, just know that I was running my mouth on social media. Okay. So,
Did she ask you to put security cameras in and things like that?
we've had an alarm system for a lot of years.
Oh, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. Yep.
I could totally
Yep.
commiserate
Yep.
on that.
I've only and it was funny. I've only had it hasn't been for a few years, but I did a number of years ago had I think I've probably had like, I don't know, a handful of people, between like 3 and 5 people randomly have showed up at my house for weird stuff. So yeah, we have an alarm system. There's cameras everywhere. Yeah, so it's interesting. But yeah, I back to the stipends. If you go along to get along, you usually get an extra stipend. And so it's the same way in both parties. The Democrats have a bunch of stipends, the Republicans have a bunch of stipends, and if you play nice in the sandbox, you usually get one. So I've been on the outside of the sandbox for 14 years, Mike.
It's amazing. I want to ask you, because I've had a lot of first time candidates on. I've always been someone who always champions the underdogs, because I feel like it's an institution when you're challenging an incumbent that's been there for like 20 years. It's always good to get someone new in there. I just always feel like that. But so many times, even the ones who really put in the work and it's very competitive, they still lose. They lose. It's even when it's close. How did you win that second race? How did you get so close in the first and then win? Because so many times they don't win.
No, you're absolutely right. So the first time, I'm trying to think of how old I was. I was in my mid-20s, and I went out, and like I said, I had no idea what I was doing. And they didn't even have nowadays, like, you can get like apps on your cell phone and stuff like that to go knock on doors and stuff. So I represent a city of about 30,000 people. I live in the town of about 10,000 people. And then I have a bunch of other, when I first ran, it was only one other town. Now I have like 8 other towns. But anyway, the city, I was new to the area, and obviously the city's where all the votes are. So from the spring all the way through the fall, I printed off the voter list in paper form. And I went down and I tried to knock on as many doors as I could in like 6 months. And I went out every day from like 9 to, I think I took a couple months off. I was in between jobs or something. And I took a couple months off, and I did not go to get another job. I was like, no, I'm not going to get another job. I'm going to try to win this thing. And I knocked on like every door in the district for like 6 months. I remember I'd be in like weird streets, and I would text my wife and be like, hey, if you don't see me again, I'm like on 123 Main Street. This is a sketchy house. I'm going to knock on the door, but if I don't, I could be in this basement later tonight if I don't come home. So just know that. And I just knocked on every door I could and just tried to meet as many people as I could when I was running. And that year, even after doing that, I think I only won by 98 votes.
Yeah, well, that's close.
Yeah. And I think there was roughly 20,000 votes, and I won by like 98. Wow. And then, like you said, so, not being somebody who plays nice in the sandbox and goes along to get along, I have had a contested election every term up until this year. This year was the first time I did not have somebody running against me. And even the last time around, it was a well-financed, obviously, no offense to you, but well-financed Democrat trying to get rid of the evil Republican. And the guy had the endorsement of every person out here, the DA, the sheriff, the mayor, half of the city council, and I beat the guy by 20 points. It's just because I still go out and hustle. I still go out and knock on doors in election years. I personally call everybody back, and the phone calls, and being in the super minority, and then obviously somebody that goes against the grain as well. I've always just, people call me and I help everybody. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, unenrolled, if you need help with unemployment insurance or your health care or whatever, your dog's lost, I pick up the phone and call them back. And I've always approached it that way.
I got to give props to you and your chief of staff, because I've, had a lot of politicians come on the show, and it was one of the easiest bookings ever. It's just like, yep, Wednesday, let's do it. Boom, 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 done. It was just so easy. And you guys reached out like that means, I think for me, it means a lot, because just due to the fact that you're a go-getter, you're not like, a lot of times politicians are very cautious. You got to kind of talk them into it. It's like,
well, those are the ones probably with the stipends, Mike.
Yeah, I know, right?
I've got nothing to lose.
I never understood that. Why, so often too, the other thing is the same politicians, like, we'll get them on the show a week before their first election, they win, and then they never want to come on again.
Yeah. Yeah. What I've found is, you're exactly right. People do a lot of shows, they talk to a lot of people, and then they get elected and they are completely terrified of being thrown out of office for sharing an opinion on something. And the way, like I said, the way I've always approached it, I've gone to Boston. I've always supported working class families, farmers, small business owners. I mean, whatever it may be, the working class citizens of Massachusetts. And if people want to fault me for that, I guess they're going to fault me, right? I don't believe in corporate cronyism or cronyism for big corporations or businesses. I think we got to focus on working class people here in Massachusetts, and that's what I've always done. And I'm not afraid to stand up and say that. And I'm also not afraid to vote against bad legislation. And I think a lot of legislators they're afraid to vote against bad legislation. They're afraid they might not get the stipend. They're afraid they'll lose whatever. I'll touch base on one of the biggest issues in Massachusetts, well, in the legislature, not for obviously for working class people, because people, I wouldn't care if I wasn't in this job, but it's the budget process. And over the last 14 years that I've been there, it's become the worst process that I've seen when it comes to, legislating at the State House. So the budget in Massachusetts is like $55 billion a year. And when I first got elected, we would spend actually a few days debating the budget. So you'd file amendments to the budget, remove things, add things, all that. And you would get up and you would debate. And over the last, roughly, I think it started probably, I don't know, don't quote me on it, but 6-8 years ago, it's all now these omnibus amendments, and nobody debates anything anymore. It's all backroom. So if you're the speaker or whatever, and I want an amendment passed, nothing is done on the House floor anymore. There's no debate. There's no discussion about good budget policy, what should be in a budget. Everything from the kitchen sink is thrown into the budget regarding policy, like this witness intimidation thing. If they really wanted to, they would throw the witness.
They'd stick it in.
Yeah, they'd stick it in the budget, right?
Where no one could say no to it.
Exactly. And then the process about the budget is there's so much bad stuff in the budget, so much wasteful spending in the budget, and people, really, legislators are completely terrified to vote no on the budget. If they have I'll give you, for instance, I won't name names, but some of these legislators get like $15,000 in the budget, $20,000 in the budget for the town gazebo. And they'll vote yes on that budget to get the 15 grand. So they can bring something, drag a little piece of pork back to the district.
They go back to the town and say, look what I did.
Yeah. And it's like in the budgets usually have some of the worst policies in it, right? On both sides of the aisle. Democrats, Republicans, both always think that there's the worst stuff in the budget. And it's because there is. And there's been no debate on it. And it's been probably the biggest travesty that I've seen over the last 10 years is how this budget process is unrolled. And then, also too, back to the stipends are usually dangled over all of the representatives' heads on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, that, if you don't fall in line and vote for this, vote for this budget or vote for this legislation, your stipend's going to be gone. Your committee chairmanship's going to be gone. And it's, and I guess it's, it's probably the same way in Congress as well. And it's just pretty, it's pretty disappointing that that's what, we've all, kind of, I don't know, devolved into, right? Is this horrific I don't know, policy of you're not going to get this unless you vote for this, or you're not going to get this unless you vote for that. And it's I don't know how we ever move forward as a society if we can't figure out a way to kind of stop these really kind of school games when it comes to government.
Seems very top down.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah. And in Massachusetts, I think there's really probably 3 to 4 people in the House that control the House, and 2 to 3 people in the Senate that control the Senate.
Too few hands.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really unfortunate.
And I think it's usually the people that you least want deciding things. They're like, they're way up there. They're not.
Yeah. Well, I've also seen too that, I think people have really good intentions. They want to help their districts. They want to help their communities. They want to help this. They want to help that. And they get down to the state house, and they get kind of sucked into this vacuum, this power vacuum of, their egos get inflated, and they, they think they're almighty and all powerful, and they get, they lose all sight of what they're there to do. And it's really to help people, that working class people in our communities, and make government better, make our communities better, not play games with, and I think a lot of the legislators really do forget that this is taxpayer money, right? And right now, I mean, I get phone calls all the time that are people that are unemployed. They, can't make ends meet. Mortgage rates are high, grocery prices are out of control, gas prices are still high. And then, a lot of the nonsense goes down. You see all this wasteful spending in Boston. They're going, what the heck are you doing? I just drove my car I can barely afford to pay for into a pothole the size of, a truck. And, the roads still aren't paved. And so I think a lot of people are struggling, and legislators forget that, when they've got these big cushy, campaign accounts full of cash, and they're going out every night on these fancy dinners. It's like, what are you doing? Just get to work, and let's try to make a difference here in people's lives.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you came on tonight to talk about this. It's been
I enjoyed it.
Amazing that you brought this up, and we put it your Twitter account in the chat, pinned to the chat. So if people want to follow Nick, you can find him right on Twitter. You're also on Facebook too, right? And some other places.
I am. I don't use it that much anymore. So I mean, I've been trying to just kind of switch over to I had I don't know, Twitter, 2 Facebooks going, or X and 2 Facebooks going. And I've been trying to just transfer all activity over to X now. So I would just go with the X handle at Rep Nick Boldyga on X, and shoot me a message or a reply or something like that. And, and I'll answer you, and happy to do it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You've been here for over an hour now.
Yeah.
Would you mind staying for a few more minutes and maybe taking a couple phone calls?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
Let's see if we can get some callers tonight. Anyone have a question? Now would be the time. I'm going to put the number on the screen, but just make sure that I've got it set up. It takes me, you guys know how it works if you've been watching. It takes me a minute to get it set up. So don't call yet. Just give me a minute. Hopefully it's set up now. Let's just check. It should be good. Let's take a call. 978-560-3155. It is working because I can hear my echo back. I was watching the video. 978-560-3155. It's working. If you got a question right now for Nick, call now. Be the first caller. And don't call me at 10 p.m. That's what everyone does. They always call later at night when they're watching it on the replay. It's 7:15 p.m. right now.
Does your phone actually ring if someone called you or does this ring when somebody calls you?
I use a Google call forwarding thing, but I never turn it off. So
that's funny.
Yeah, when they're calling me, it comes on my cell phone in the middle of the night. And that's what will happen tonight. 978-560-3155. And if you're calling for the first time, please turn down whatever you're watching it on. And we just wait. We wait and see if anyone calls in. The first call is always I'm the most anxious for. Here we go. We got one. Hi, who's on the phone? You're on the phone with Rep Nick and Mike. Oh, no. Did we lose you? Are you there? I think my system's not working again. This always happens on the first call. What I do is I have to shut it down. Let's try that again. Hold on one second. Now everybody's calling.
Oh, wow.
We'll get it. Well, it always ends up working. Not yet, though. There we go. It's working. Now you're live on the show.
Hello?
Who's calling?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. This is Sheba calling from Florida.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. It sounds like a lot's going on there, so maybe you and your wife can come move here with us.
Oh, you want him to move to Florida?
What part of
We don't
Florida?
want to lose him. We don't want to lose him. I'm sorry. You can't have him.
Tampa. I'm in Tampa.
Okay, yeah. I might have. I think I went to Tampa. I think it was last year. I was down in Tampa.
Yep. There's a place right off the Bayshore. I can set you and your wife up. So just let me know.
All right, I'm writing that down.
Is that it tonight? You want to move him down to Florida?
All right, do me a
Hey,
favor.
too many people are. Yeah.
Send me a message. Send me a message on X.
Okay. There's a lot of people moving here, so we need more Republican reps and people coming in. So I will send you that message.
Yeah, I know there is a lot of people moving to Florida.
Exactly. So, okay. Well, have a good night.
Thanks for
Have a
calling.
good day. Well, I don't approve of that call, though.
Okay.
We don't want to lose. We don't want to, but not until we get this witness intimidation law. Then you can consider that. 978-560-3155. Don't try to steal Rep Nick until we pass this law, please. Would you move to Tampa? Do you think your wife would be good with that?
I think I like the Panhandle area or the Keys.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be probably the Keys.
Please turn down whatever you're listening on. We can hear it in the background. Excellent. Who's calling?
This is Robin.
Hey, Rob.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. How's that, Mike?
Perfect.
Is-
Thank you, Robin.
Is that's better?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. I am a prior Norfolk County resident. I have since moved to Connecticut, but my question to you is to Representative. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Your
Nick.
first name.
Rep Nick.
Rep Nick.
Rep Nick. So with the few people in power in the Senate and in the House of Reps, how can you get this passed?
With the few people. Well, so the way we get it passed is it's just when I mentioned earlier. So this is all about building a coalition and bringing awareness to it. So it's not more of a how many Republicans to Democrats obviously are there in Massachusetts. There's way more Democrats than Republicans. So I think it's about always starting the conversation, right? So if no one ever says that there's an issue with the witness intimidation statute, then there isn't an issue. So what I'm planning on doing is working with people like Mike and other people around Massachusetts to make sure that we have awareness around the fact that we need to reform the witness intimidation statute. We're going to be doing press conferences at the State House, Day on the Hill. We're going to be having people come in to testify on the bill. And I think that's how you bring awareness to it. And then I talk to other representatives and obviously senators, and we hopefully reform the witness intimidation statute that way. But it starts with the first step is bringing awareness of the fact that there's an issue with the witness intimidation statute.
Fabulous. Now, could I also ask, is there any part of the protection for journalists that is going to lead into that?
Yeah, so I was
like a journalism.
Yep. So I was speaking with a couple of attorneys earlier in the week, and I think what we're going to do is file a separate bill as a standalone protections bill for journalists as well.
Fabulous. It warms my heart as a prior resident up there to know that the change is coming.
Well,
The change is coming. So
Thank you so much, Robin, for calling.
thanks, Robin. We appreciate it. We're going to try.
Absolutely. Keep up the fight. Thank you so much. Mike, good to see you. I'm also
too.
Spanky's hanky.
Oh, thank you for calling. I'll be looking for you online.
Okay.
Thank you so much for calling.
Okay. Bye
Robin.
now.
And again, I think that, when you bring up the coalition, it's up to us. Like, that's the thing. We have nobody else except us. We got to raise so much hell, and we got to contact our state reps. I know who my state rep is.
Yeah.
And I know she knows me, so I'm going to be hitting her up. Usually I run into her when we're walking dogs.
Yeah.
She's got a dog. I got a dog. So next time I see her, I'll be bringing it up to her. And I think that's what people need to do. You need to reach out to your state rep and let them know this matters to you. You're on the show. Who's calling?
Hi, Mike. It's Laura from Jersey. How are you, honey?
Good. How you doing from Jersey, Laura?
I'm doing really well. I have to say, for Nick, it is so refreshing to see somebody who's got a head on their shoulders.
Thank you.
Eureka. It's just so refreshing because, I'm down in Jersey, and of course, naturally, our laws are different down here. But still, we have some problems with the First Amendment stuff. And, opening, it's like opening a bag of worms here. And I understand the witness intimidation laws definitely have to be changed up in Boston, as well as the journalistic part of it, the First Amendment part of it. But on the tail end of that is, don't you think that maybe some of the police officers should have more training in First Amendment stuff?
Yeah, so obviously that is a big concern. I agree. A lot of times the police officer training is really not focused around First Amendment. So yeah, I agree. There should be an added on part of the training. Like I said, I graduated from a police academy in Massachusetts and Connecticut, and the First Amendment training is not a huge part of that training. And I think there needs to be a change there as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're coming at an age of, we're 20 years into the internet here, and we're seeing a lot of these auditors that are on TV, and we see a lot of police interaction with them, and we see them going after people and just walking all over their First, Second, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth Amendment rights all the time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a huge concern. I think there needs to be addressed in the training as well as what those laws are and what those protections and rights, how they extend to people on the internet, but also out in the public as well.
Yeah, because it's all one big circle. It's all one big bowl of soup. Everything that we're talking about here, it's all connected one way or another. And I really, really wish that I, from New Jersey, could do something to help you guys to get this done. Is there input from other people in other states, an affidavit or something that can be put out to kind of help from out of the state?
I don't know. I think probably when we launch this, more voices always help, whether that's, attending something or sending an email in or a letter. Absolutely. I think it all helps. So I think we could definitely do that.
Yeah, because right now, to be perfectly honest with you, in order for me to get to Canada, where I want to go, I have to go through Massachusetts. And I would go around the state of Massachusetts in order to get to Canada at this point, because I'm definitely afraid to step in the state for fear of what I see.
We don't want that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Mike. I hope you're doing well, and I have a great Christmas and a Happy New Year.
You too. Merry Christmas to you, Laura. Thank you so much for calling.
Okay, bye, Nick.
Bye. Thank you.
She's She's a regular caller. I love Laura from Jersey. Thank you
I
so
know.
much,
Can you,
Laura.
can you imagine driving around Massachusetts to get
I
to
know.
Canada?
I don't want that. Let's just come on.
Exactly. We need the business here,
Yeah,
Mike.
we need the gas tax and the
Exactly. Gas
restaurant
tax.
tax and
Ever stop at the restaurants? Absolutely.
yeah. We got good food here too, mostly.
Hi, thank you.
What?
Hi, you're on the show and you're calling from a local number, so I'm happy we have a local caller.
Yes.
What's going on?
Yes, I'm from Quincy. How
Quincy.
about that? Right
Yeah.
in the belly of the beast, you might say, in some respects.
Norfolk County.
Yeah, I can't hear the representative. I can hear you, Mike, but because I shut my TV off, you know. Anyway, so I'll just say that, like, why doesn't Representative John Keenan, Ron Mariano, Tacky Chan, Bruce Ayers, like, when I try to reach out to them about these things, I mean, deaf ears is an understatement. So is there a special, like, special word I should use, or what could make them hear me? You know, not in an aggressive way, but in an intelligent, like, what are they afraid of?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is, and, you know, Mike mentioned, you know, he's going to mention this to his state rep when he sees her. I think, you know, once we, you know, start, you know, you're more than welcome to start now, but also too, once the legislation's filed and we're starting to build awareness around it, I think you just regularly send them an email about how email, phone call, you know, request an in-person meeting, whatever you want to do, whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay.
But at the very least, an email or a phone call, and just have an email put together about how, you know, you want to bring awareness to the, you know, the witness intimidation statute needs to be reformed. There was legislation that was filed. Obviously, that's after I file it in January with Webhouse, and you want to see movement on it, and you don't want to see statutes in Massachusetts weaponized. And I think you just, you know, the old adage, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? I think that's what we're going to have to do.
Right.
Once it's filed, and I think we have
And we can make.
Yep.
Yep. That's going to be good, and we can get. You know, people are good at getting together with lots of people at one time to do that. And the other question I have is, instead of moving to Florida, New Jersey, or anything, what about Quincy?
Well, if I move to Quincy, I can no longer be a state rep out here.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. That wouldn't be nice to Mr. Chan, but okay. But anyway, well, we just are loving this, and you are going to do great, and we will help you from Quincy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Excellent. And I
Take
give you a
care.
tip too. For the Quincy thing, you know, when you're sometimes just showing up at the State House works. Like I used to show up at the State House,
Oh,
and I never
that's a
actually
good
got.
one.
You know, it's funny because I never actually got a meeting with my rep, but I became friends with the aides, and the aides started telling me the truth. They
Oh.
started telling me what the problem was. And they were like, he's really close now. He's really close. Like they would give me updates. So like sometimes you gotta show up and be nice. Be very nice to them. And especially
I'm
those
always
aides. Is that
nice.
right? What do you think, Nick? Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
no, especially the aides. You know, I would definitely be nicer. The aides are the people that take the brunt of you know, all the anger that people have and pent up, and people, I agree, feel like they're not heard from most of their reps, and you know, it could be accurate for the most part, but I think you be kind, you treat the aides with respect,
Right.
you know that they're kind of the gatekeepers, if you will, and just be persistent. You know, emails, phone calls, show up, request a meeting. You know, if it takes however long, just keep requesting a meeting if you want to meet in person. But I think just be respectful. You know, yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things too. Most of these people are just gonna, if you're rude in any type of way, people are just gonna shut down no matter who you are.
Yeah. No, I like to joke with people, or you know, sometimes I come at it a bit like they don't even hear it in my voice. I'll come at it like a completely different way, and then they listen.
Yeah.
But yet I still don't get the accent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most of the time you're not going to get anything. It's funny. One of my friends had this revelation one day when he was at the State House talking to a rep, and the rep said, "Wait a minute, you're not a lobbyist?" You're a citizen showing up? Oh, okay. Like sometimes they're just not used to us showing up. Like they're the only ones that show up are the paid lobbyists. So it means a lot when we show
cool.
up.
Well, thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for
Take care.
calling.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye now. I love the Quincy callers. Yeah, Quincy's great.
That's funny.
I think we'll take one more. If
All right. Let's do one more.
Let's do one more. If I can get the number back up. A lot of times people already have it on the speed dial. 978-560-3155. If you've wanted to get through, this is a good opportunity to do so tonight. 978-560-3155. Our last call. We're going to take one more call if anyone calls. So anything else you want to talk about too, Nick, while we're waiting to see if someone else calls in?
Yeah, I would say the most important thing as we wrap up, Mike, is obviously number one, I had a blast tonight. So thanks for having me on. And just as we're going forward, if people want to reach out, they want to get involved, and we're going to build momentum around this come January, reach out to me on X, follow me on X at Rep Nick Boldyga. I'm going to try to do regular updates on there. DM me if you want to get involved. Follow me on X, and we need your help.
Awesome. And again, we have it. If you're watching on the YouTube chat, at the very top of the chat, we got it pinned. You can follow Nick right on X.
Hello?
Hi.
And I guess
Can you turn
Hi,
down whatever you're listening to it on? We can hear the echo.
I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it
Thank you.
turned off.
Excellent. Who's calling?
This is Catherine from Arizona.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
It's just crazy what's going on in Boston, Massachusetts. It's just crazy. The court thing never even should have went to court, and it's just making a fool out of Boston, Massachusetts, the way I feel.
Yeah, usually I think lately there's been a lot of obviously everything is hyper, televised. Recently with did you pay attention to the Daniel Penny case at all, Mike?
A little bit, but before I just dropped that caller because we got someone else here. I want to get up and I definitely want to make sure we don't lose him. We got Dr. Turtleboy in the green room. We're gonna bring him up right now. Let's bring him. I'm sorry to the caller. When Turtleboy's here, I don't want to make.
No, it's fine. You didn't have to kick her off of me.
Well, I mean, Arizona caller or you? Come on.
How's it going? I just wanted to pop up and tell Nick, thank you for again taking this on. I enjoyed the conversation we had yesterday, and you're seeing a lot of, the reaction that you've gotten on Twitter is exactly why we need this legislation. These are some bad faith actors who are reveling in lawfare, because that's what this really is just lawfare. It's just the weaponization of this obscure, vaguely written statute to hurt people who are, enemy that, the police don't like. And, I think Mike brought up earlier about, I forget who brought it up, or something about the police endorsing you. And it's important to point out that it's just, Massachusetts is one of the only states where these district attorneys have their own little units assigned to their office, right? And they which makes them political in nature. And the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, their state police are the ones who kind of came after me. Like, I live in Worcester County, a town called Holden, and all the alleged crimes that I've committed took place on YouTube in my basement in Holden, right? When I was doing my shows. So really, it should have been why didn't the Worcester County District Attorney's Office, state police, why didn't they investigate it? Because I wasn't insulting them, because I wasn't criticizing them. I was criticizing the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, and they didn't like it. And eventually, and if this is all going to come out, you're going to see that they were personally offended. They didn't like the fact that I was criticizing Michael Proctor and criticizing his wife and people like that. And, they were just itching and saying, we have to do something. We have to do something to shut this guy up. We can't let him keep talking. He's saying things that are mean. He's saying things that are offensive, and we have to do something to shut him up. We have to use the weaponry of the state to silence this guy. And, what these people don't realize who are criticizing you, it's like, yeah, you're cheering this on now because the government is coming after somebody you don't like, right? But think big picture. You're in favor of giving the government the power to go after political enemies, right? And so what happens when you become a political enemy? What happens when the people that you don't like are in charge of the government? Do you want that same government to come after you? I don't. I don't think the government should be going after and locking up people who I find offensive on social media, people who hold different opinions than me, people who are loud, uncouth. I mean, I get it. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I waver on that line, but one thing I never do is I don't threaten that I'm going to like hurt you if you testify. Like, that's nothing. I've never said anything like that. And that's what a witness intimidation statute's for.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, I said earlier was, we've got, First Amendment rights, there's a witness intimidation statute, then obviously there's criminal harassment statutes, right? So if anything that you or anybody else did fell under those other statutes, you would have been arrested for that. And then back to your comment on, Norfolk coming out there. I mean, I do find it interesting. Obviously, I don't have all the details, but why wasn't it Worcester County, right? I mean, usually what I've seen in the past is it would be the authority of where you resided, conducting that maybe in conjunction with the other county's DA office. But that obviously right there is just interesting. But yeah, I mean, that's one of my, comments I said to Mike when we first started talking was I said over the last week or two, the people on social media, it's been interesting to see the comments, and there was, and obviously I don't take offense to it. I've been doing this a long time. But it's just interesting that nobody ever thought of, this is much larger than one person or two people or whatever the issue is. This is all about how could be used against anybody, whether it's you or anybody, any one of them, and they're not realizing that. And it's one of the things we need people to, kind of realize is that this is a much larger talking point than just, somebody that they might not like personally, right? This is about free speech, protecting our First Amendment rights, not having statutes weaponized against people that just aren't personally liked by a police officer or whoever it may be, right? So I think that we need to put those things in place and work on it. And hopefully that if we get some of the people, we do. If we don't, we don't. But it's much larger than any one person. It's about protecting, everybody in Massachusetts.
Yeah. And, I tweeted out a couple things here, and I tagged you in it, like from the charging documents against me, the bill of particulars. And like, for instance, one example is Colin Albert. I called Colin Albert on my show once, and I left him a voicemail, and I did an impression of him. He's got this video where we call it the Advantage Boys Bang Bang video.
Bang, yeah.
It's like a 12-second clip. He acts like a hardo. And I call him up and I mock him. And I'm like, yo, Colin, it's Aidan from them Advantage Boys. Bang, bang. It's a joke. And
it was an imitation.
It's kind of
like anyone that does an imitation of like a celebrity. Yeah.
Right. And then halfway through the message, I switch gears and I'm like, I'm just kidding. Aidan Kearney, I'm here to ask you some questions. Want to know if you were in the house, all germane to the Reed investigation, the O'Keefe investigation rather. And, for that, like, that is the only thing listed against me, and I got a felony charge for it. And so how do they explain that's witness intimidation? Well, according to the bill of particulars here, it says that Colin believes that Kearney's conduct made him sad, scared, and paranoid, and fearful of physical harm from strangers. So literally, they're saying that because my speech made Colin Albert sad, like, I'm not even, the word sad was used. I made him sad, which is completely subjective and we're supposed to take Colin Albert's word for it that he's sad. And apparently, if my speech makes Colin Albert sad, it is now a felony punishable up to 10 years in jail. And it's like, it doesn't matter if you're sad. Like, I don't know where this came from, that like discourse has to make us all happy now. Like, we're adults here.
Yeah. Feelings suddenly matter.
Yeah. Well, I think it just comes back to the fact that, Massachusetts has one of the worst statutes in the country regarding witness intimidation, right? It's so broad that, like I said, earlier, even when I was reading it, by myself, it's probably the first time I've read it in years. I'm reading the statute going, geez, I mean, I think I might be arrested right now. I'm not even sure what I did, but I mean, I could be arrested right now for witness intimidation. So it's just, we need to bring the statute in line with other statutes around the country and put real protections in place for witnesses that aren't so broad it can be abused. I mean, it's just common sense. And that's just the fact of the matter when it comes to the statute. So, like you said, it's just, these other really broad, terms that are not definable are in a statute, just allows the statute to be abused.
Mm-hmm. And the ones with the police are really the most ridiculous ones. Buchanan and Proctor, who I'm being charged with intimidating. I mean, they're police and they have all the institutional power, and they're afraid of me. I wasn't armed. You know what I mean? It was a 1 minute confrontation with Buchanan outside of court. And I'll be honest, like, it wouldn't be the type of video I'd proudly show my mother and be like, look what I did today, Ma. It's like, I used some colorful language. I believe I called him a pig a couple times and a loser. And I called him Michael Proctor's bitch. And you know what? You're a police officer. You'll be okay if somebody calls you that. It's not witness. At no point did I tell him, like, you better not testify. You better not, or else you're going to get it. I'm going to get you. No, I just called him a loser, a bukkake loser. And the funny part I did, and they even wrote this in the charging documents, is that I did it in front of 2 other state police troopers, right? And I said to that, and I go, these guys right here, they're laughing at you. They think you're a disgrace to the uniform. So they're, on the one hand, they're alleging that this is a felony. On the other hand, they're alleging that 2 state police troopers witnessed this felony and did nothing about it.
Yeah.
You can't ask this. It's like,
yeah, I like I said, I don't know how that would hold up in court. It just seems like, everything that you just said, it's just like you read the statute. It's like, there needs to be, it's just surprising that it took this long to even be a discussion about reforming the statute is what surprises me.
Well, it's always existed, but like, I think we talked about this yesterday, just nobody's ever exploited it. And we kind of counted on the fact, I don't know if it was you or Tim or somebody who said, well, they'll never use it that way, right? They'll never weaponize it that way. So it's always been there in case a bad actor ever wanted to weaponize it. And the Norfolk District Attorney's Office, they did it with me, and they're like, oh, we can do this to anyone. Let's go after everyone. Let's go after the Canton Nine, the Bukkake Bunch, Rich Schiffer, the Ducky guy. Like, they've realized, oh, we can just use this to silence anyone. So it's always been there. It's always been a bad law, but nobody's really been brazen enough to exploit it like this until now.
Well, I think the other thing I saw was I did some research on it. I can't remember, don't quote me on the year, but I feel like it was 2009 roughly, that the term the emotional discomfort or emotional whatever was actually added to the witness intimidation law within the last 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
And
why was that added? Do you know?
I don't know.
Something must have happened where
I couldn't find anything, but also too, like, that term is not defined. So then it's just up to the interpretation of, number one, whoever wants to use it to arrest somebody, but also to the attorneys and the judge could also use it in any way that they want to define emotional discomfort or whatever the term
That's
was.
what's crazy.
And what if the witness or victim in the case, what if there's somebody who's experienced some sort of mental health issues? Like, they're much more likely to feel emotional harm to anything, are they not? Like, they're not of sound mind. So who cares if they're experiencing emotional harm? They're not of sound mind. I mean, it's subjective. It allows the witness or the object of the speech to be the one who gets to decide, how they feel about it, and thus, and not only how they feel about it, they get to determine your intent. So, like, there's 2 key things. Number one is you can't cause harm, emotional, physical, or financial harm. Number 2, the speech is supposed to be intended to impede justice, like, i.e., stopping someone from testifying.
Yep.
But who gets to decide what the intent of the speech is? That would be the witness. And these witnesses have all said, it was like they were coached when they went to the grand jury. They all went in front of the grand jury, and Mello asked him, and he said, well, why do you think Turtleboy is saying these things about you? Because I'm a witness in the Karen Reed trial, and he does not want me to testify. It was a literal script that all of them got right except for Colin Albert. He's the only one that didn't get the line right. They asked him, why do you think, why do you think that he's doing this to you? And he goes, I don't know.
Colin didn't do his homework. Colin didn't do the homework.
Well, it's exactly right. I think the issue is, well, I mean, obviously it's just one of the issues, but you can't leave it up to the alleged victim to describe the intent. It has to be from the court to say this was the intent of the, perpetrator or violator of the law. This was clearly the intent with their actions. They intended to make sure or bribe you or threaten your life and with physical harm to not testify in a trial. And the statute has to be updated to reflect that. I mean, and I don't know, the history of why it was never like that, or even the recent amendment, within the last 15 years to add a term that's not clearly, nobody uses that term in common language, right?
Mhm.
That's not even a term somebody in common language would use. No one 15 years ago would walk around going, I'm experiencing emotional discomfort right now. No one said that 15 years ago. So the fact that was added to a law, it's still not common language. So it's not common language, and it's not definable. So obviously it just opens up the entire statute to abuse.
Yeah, and we joke about, like, also on the right wing, we joke about how colleges and whatnot have created safe spaces, for people that can't understand. And it's funny to laugh at that or whatever, but it's not funny when the police start using it. Like, it's funny when it's like some college kid crying, freaking out because Trump got elected or something like that, right? It's not so funny when Brian Tully comes to your house with handcuffs and is like, you're going to jail because you made somebody feel sad.
Yeah.
It's not so cute then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I
it's
said,
especially when it's used when it's them that you made upset and they're showing up.
Right.
And that's even the
Right.
worst. I
Yeah.
just still can't get over that you we all watch you criticize them, and then they show up. The same people you criticize
Same people.
show up to your house.
With no shame. It's like, if I was a cop, I would just be embarrassed to be part of this. Like, wait a minute, I have to testify and say I'm sad from Turtleboy made me sad. This is what I have to do. I'd rather just quit. I'd be like,
Yeah.
let them get away with it. I am not going to do that because I have pride.
yeah, I've got nothing on that one. But yeah,
I got another question about it, because considering all that at the state house, are any of the reps talking about this? Are any of them like you and saying, like, wow, what's going on here? Like, this is a little crazy. Are they noticing, or are they just not paying attention?
the funny thing is that I have not had any like specific conversations with people who have paid attention to the trial, but then also, like, the side stuff, the side noise going on of the witness intimidation stuff. So I haven't had any solid conversations with people that have paid enough attention to see that the witness intimidation stuff is going on and that something actually needs to be done about it. So I'm just hoping that, we can actually have conversations with them and say, hey, listen, or the other day, I knew some people were arrested. I didn't know 15 people were arrested for witness intimidation, right? And every one of them, the charges got tossed. I mean, that's enough to think right there, okay, there's a little bit more at play here than really witness intimidation. If every person that was charged with witness intimidation had the court tossed it out, and then as of recent, the judges have started writing opinion pieces saying, like, this is over the top, enough's enough, you're now abusing the statute, right? So that's where it's a much larger issue. If 15 people were arrested on witness intimidation and 14 of them actually were charged with significant witness intimidation, then okay, it's a different story. But the fact that 15 people were arrested and all of them were let go, this is an issue that needs to be addressed.
Well, I like that question from Mike, though, because it's like, how can we mobilize more people, more elected, officials in the state house? So there's 160 state reps. Each of you represents roughly 40,000 people, right?
Yeah.
So I assume you're pretty responsive to emails, because you probably don't get that many emails as a state rep, do you? Like, about,
it depends. So what I'm hoping is, so I probably average, I don't know, 100, 200 emails a day, right?
Oh, wow. Just from constituents?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then other emails all around from the state and around the country. So there's a couple hundred emails a day that I try to make my way through. But what I'm hoping that we're doing with this is, so when we, draft the legislation, we do the legislation in January, we have a bill number assigned to it, whatever comes up with the committee hearing, we need everybody that's in support of reforming this witness intimidation to flood the email addresses of each of their state representatives and all the state representatives, right? So let's say there's 40,000 people that we can get in support of this witness intimidation. All those 40,000 people need to email all 160 reps and 40 state senators, right? So that's what we need to do. And so there's a real coalition of support around this. And it's a common ground of people that, the stories of the people that have been arrested, people that have been afraid to say anything, speak out with their free speech because they'd have, a law enforcement officer showing up at their house to possibly arrest them, a business owner that didn't say anything or whatever it may be. But like, that's how you build awareness around the issue is flooding people's email boxes, showing up at their state rep's office, or, a phone call, whatever it may be, but that's how you do it.
Yeah. And I think that's where me and Mike can come in and use our platforms. Cause I bet you like over half of the people from Massachusetts that are listening to this right now probably couldn't tell you who their state representative is. And I'm not kidding. Like I would say that's being very generous, less than 50%. So like it's going to be up to us to kind of like, make a database. Like here's who, if you live here, here's who your state rep is. Here's their email. Send them an email, because if enough people, squeaky wheel gets the grease. And like you said, like if you're not following Turtleboy, if you're not, living and breathing this stuff like we are, you probably don't even know what's going on. And so like you might have seen the headlines. Like a lot of people have seen the headlines, like Turtleboy arrested for witness intimidation. And that sounds really bad, but nobody actually looks at the details of it and says, oh, wait, this is witness intimidation. Oh, like that, that's what the barrier I always have to overcome is like, I've been charged with witness intimidation, but like nobody ever talks about what the charges actually
is.
Yeah. And that's the problem. So we definitely got, once we get the ball rolling in January, we're going to start an email campaign to get people on board with this, get our legislators on board with it. So, we got a good start with you, but we probably need a couple dozen, right? Other state reps to really start championing this and helping.
Oh yeah. As many as we can get. I mean, there's also a link too on like the state website where it's like find my state legislator, and you just put in your address and it pops them up too. So, I mean, you could even put that once we get this going in January, you put it on your social media, your website, whatever it is, they type it in, they can find their legislator.
Awesome.
Yep.
I don't expect Michelle Dubois to help out because I've said some mean things about her over the years. But there's 159 others.
She from Brockton?
She doesn't like me.
Yeah, I don't think she liked me at one point either. Then she did like me. I don't know about her.
Well, like Mike Connolly, I've said a lot of mean things about him, but he still came out for the free can't read thing. So that gives me hope.
That's what we need.
Yeah. So
Big Mike.
Great. But anyway, I just wanted to jump on and say hello and thank you for taking this on. We all really appreciate it.
Looking forward to it.
Have a good one.
Aidan. Have a great night. That was Dr. Turtleboy. I'm so glad I got him on. Thank you to the audience for letting me know. I'm sorry I dumped that caller, but I didn't want to lose him. Thank you so much. I think she was from Arizona.
She was.
Did you want to answer her question? I felt like we did cut her off. I know you were about to say something about Penny, Daniel Penny, maybe.
Oh, it was something about the cases, right? I was actually just going to say that what I did see about the Daniel Penny case was, did you see? I think it was a couple months before there was a similar incident on the subway where a guy stabbed another a homeless guy that was either attacking somebody or what else it was. He stabbed him, and they found that it was in self-defense, and they let him out of jail within a week, and that was it. And the case was dismissed. And then I think that was in May or something like that of the same year. And then like June or July, when Daniel Penny ended up trying to defend the people on the subway from the guy with the stranglehold, he was arrested and jailed for 2 years and went to trial. But a couple weeks before, somebody else stabbed somebody and they said it was self-defense and let him go. So
very subjective.
Yes, exactly. It's very subjective to who thinks something is self-defense, who thinks something is witness intimidation. And I think we just have to do a better job with our laws to protect people. And it just needs to be more cut and dry so innocent people don't end up in, spending a life, jailed away on a crime they didn't commit.
I mean, the real problem in the Daniel Penny thing is just like the fact we allow these people to reoffend over and over and over again and get out. I mean, I know the guy had mental health issues and all the rest of it, and I'm a bleeding heart liberal, but at a certain point, it shouldn't have been up to him. It should have, that guy should have not been on the subway. He should have already been,
What's the other thing too about, mental health obviously is a whole nother issue, but the fact that we don't have mental health,
we don't
facilities any longer, people are just left kind of, on their own, roaming the streets. They're not taken care of. And then stuff like this happens.
Yeah. So true. We shut down all the hospitals.
Yep. They're all gone. Yep.
There's a lot of problems out there.
For the next show, Mike.
Yeah, the next show. I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoyed having you on here. It's been wow, that went back quick, almost 2 hours.
Oh wow, that did go by quick.
Yeah.
So Mike,
I want to thank you so much. I hope your wife isn't mad, and thank you for spending 2 hours with us. I'm gonna say it again. Mass State Rep Nick Boldyga. I think I said it right.
That's it.
Thank you for coming on. And again, follow him on X and Twitter. It's in the chat. I want to thank our moderators. They've been sharing the link as well. Thank you so much for being here, Nick.
I had a great time, Mike, and I look forward to the next one.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be following up, like you said, in January. I can't wait to work on this campaign. We got to make this happen, and I'm really looking forward to working with you and everyone else is too. Everyone was wicked excited that you came on tonight, so thank you again so much, and we're looking forward to after the new year.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Christmas and happy holidays and New Year. Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. That's again Mass State Rep Nick Boldyga. Thank you so much. Have a great holiday.
You're welcome. Take care, Mike.
And we're the Young Jerks. That was a great interview. I want to thank Aidan Kearney as well for being here, Turtleboy, and all of our viewers and the super chats and the calls. You guys were great. Thank you so much. I'm really sorry I hung up on that Arizona caller, but I didn't want to lose Turtleboy. I know his time is very valuable, and I didn't see him. Everyone was telling me in the chat that he was here, and I looked. I was like, holy shit, I wonder how long he's been waiting. I didn't want to lose him. And thank you so much for everybody who was watching and supporting and calling tonight. And again, all the super chats, I want to go through them. Thank you, Glamour Suze. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, AKA the Cat Lady. She's a big fan, supporter. Thank you so much. Thank you to our moderator, Jen O. She's awesome. Thank you, Jen O and Stephanie. And MJ. MJ's been going through a lot of stuff with her family. Let's give prayers to MJ and her family. And thank MJ. We love MJ. And thank you, Scott McGinnis. Scott McGinnis is the dude. I just love Scott McGinnis. I just got to say, very honored he was in the chat tonight, too. I want to thank Spanky's Hanky. I think you called in tonight. Was that who called in tonight? Thank you so much. That was a good call. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you. I gotta know. Thank you, Romy. Thank you, Joseph Kane. Joseph Kane kept on buying people memberships tonight. Thank you. 1 year, too. He's buying he bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1-year memberships tonight. He gifted. Very generous. Thank you so much, Joseph. He's always here, always donating. Good comments. Thank you so much, Joseph. Happy Merry Christmas to you and Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Happy holidays. Thank you so much, Joseph. Also, thank you to DW. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you, DW. Thank you so much. This was a good show. I needed this. I got to say, some of the stuff that's been going on around the social media and all that, it really did get me a little depressed with some of the infighting going on in the movement. With the Free Karen Reed people. I hope we can all get over it. I really didn't want to see it get to where it got. I hope we just have grace for everyone on all sides of it, because I think things got a little carried away that didn't need to get that way. And I think we all need to give each other grace. I like John Como. John Como is a good guy. I don't think he deserves any grief or pushback. Some of the stuff he did, maybe I didn't love, but, I love John Como. And I have talked to him since, and I think him and Turtleboy worked it out as well. I hope so. It seemed like they did. So, let's just move on with a lot of that stuff. Jen O'Donnell, I hope she is hopefully doing better, and hopefully she just, takes a break and get off the social media for a long time, because sometimes we need a break. I needed a break a few months ago. It was the best thing I ever did was take that break. And this week I basically took a break too, and that last Betterow show, I must have muted myself like 6 times. I was so annoyed at myself that show. But it was because I think a lot of the stuff has been getting to me. So I took basically a break until tonight. And it was good. So sometimes we all just need to deep breathing, think about things, take a rest. Don't post, This has been a lot for people. This has been like 18 months for some of us, almost 2 years. I'm checking out the Venmo. Thank you so much, Pam. She sent $5. She said, great show, Pam B. Thank you so much, Pam. Thank you so much for the donation. I love this. Kyla M. Oh, I love the last name. I don't know if I should say it, but it's a funny last name considering she sent $10 with a picture of some puppies. I love the puppies. Oh, they're so cute. John, he said, no need to read this again from DW. Thanks again. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much, DW. You are very generous. All right. That's it for Venmo. I really appreciate the Venmo contributions. You guys are awesome. And ladies. Also on the Cash App, the Rogue Townie sent $10 on the Cash App, said, thank you for always putting on a great show. Peace and love. Thank you so much to the Rogue Townie. Gary also sent $10, and he said, for the Thursday night YouTube SmackDown. Thank you so much, Gary. I really appreciate that. That was from Thursday night. I may have missed this one too. This was Brave Little Toaster. It says, love your content. Thanks for having James on. This was from last Thursday night. I'm not sure if I read all these, so I am now. Deanne also said $20. That was on Thursday. $25 on Thursday. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We all needed the show tonight. This was a good show. Melissa with one ass. Melissa with one ass. One ass. I'm laughing at your handle. It's funny. She said, we love each other. We fight like siblings. No big deal. I think there is some truth to that too. Sometimes we're around each other too much, maybe. And maybe like all families, we forget how to communicate with each other. And that was my big thing this week. I was like, just call them. Talk to them. If you're having a problem with someone, just try talking to them directly. And even with some of the things like, go girl, you go get it, that kind of stuff. Maybe don't gas people up for things online. Maybe reach out to them and make sure they're doing all right. I think hopefully we all learned a little bit in the last couple months. Myself included. I'm looking forward to this after the new year, really, because we got Karen Reed, we got Aidan Kearney gonna be on trial, and again we're gonna fight as hard as we can to pass this witness intimidation to change the law. And I'm glad that I'm glad the attorneys spoke to Nick about a journalism shield law too, because we desperately need it. And this is something too, a lot of us know state reps or state senators. Some of us have personal relationships with them. We see them in town. That's a good moment to bring it up to them. If you see them around town, you say, hey, but you know who else we should bring it up to? Journalists. If you know any journalists out there, say, hey, this affects you too. You need to get involved in this. You need to make sure that you're not going to get hemmed up and caught up in some BS. Like right now, if you're a journalist in the state and you're involved in the Karen Reed case, I would suggest get rid of all your notes. I'm not keeping any notes. I mean, they keep trying to get everyone's journalism notes. They're even doing it in other cases now too. The Clancy case, they're going after journalists. They want our notes. They want our sources. So my suggestion to journalists is don't keep anything. Get rid of it all before they ask for it. I don't have any notes. I'm trying to get rid of everything. I may have to start getting rid of all my texts every week or something. I mean, this is what it's coming to in this state. And it's one of the reasons we're going to have to change the laws here. So again, if you know any journalist or anyone who is a potential journalist in the future, maybe they're in college right now, they got to get involved. We got to protect journalists. And that includes people on Twitter and Facebook. If you're posting any type of news or information, you are a journalist. So we got to protect that. The ability to expose corruption, we need to protect that. We need to protect Howie Carr. He needs protection. Because I would not doubt if they go after him eventually too. Like, even though, like I said, I feel like he's more protected because he's got the Herald, he's got the radio network. But don't kid yourself. All right, I'm not sure when my next show is. Like I said, I'm taking it a little bit slower right now. We're running into the Christmas holiday next week, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I also have some family stuff that's going on. Well, we'll see. We're expecting a baby. Not my baby, but, someone in the family is having a baby. So I'm trying to keep things day by day at this point, so I can be there for the baby when the baby's born. I've also said no to a lot of requests lately to be on different people's shows as guests. I'll definitely be doing a lot more of that after the new year. I'm looking forward to it, especially LTL. I got to get on the LTL show. We've been trying to plan that for a while. Definitely going to get Brian on my show eventually as well. But I want to go on that LTL show. I'm planning to do that pretty soon, hopefully. But scheduling is very difficult for me right now. But I appreciate you all hanging with me. And thank you so much for everybody who's watching tonight and following along. Really appreciate it. Have a Merry Christmas. And if I don't see you before then, please have a happy holidays and enjoy your new year. You know I will. Looking forward to 2025 and seeing what we do this year, this next year. Because I got to say, this 2024, I will never forget because of you. All of you watching, you made this year so special for me. I can't wait to see what we do together in 2025. Really. It's been a wild year from the very beginning till now. This is a memorable year. There was a year, I think I told, a few times, I lost my friend, my best friend, Michael Malta, back in 2013. That was like a memorable year just because we lost him. And it's like a year that I'll never forget because of losing him that year. This year, what is it, 9 years later? Or is it 11 years later, actually? 10. Well, yeah, so we'll say 10. 10, basically 10 years later, 11 years later, whatever we're going to call it, was just as memorable. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what we all do together next year. So please enjoy your Christmas. And if you need to, recharge your batteries, get away. You don't have to be on this 24/7. It's okay to take a few weeks off. And especially if you're not feeling good. If you're not feeling good about some things going on, just take a break. Taking a break sometimes is the best thing you can do. You recharge your batteries. We all get like that after a while. So please, if you can, enjoy your holiday. And we'll see you all definitely back in 2025. I can't wait. This is going to be even a better year. 2024 was one of the wildest years ever. I think 2025, this is when like the Empire strikes back. It's things are going to turn around. And we're the Empire, right? Like Return of the Jedi. I don't know, whatever you want. But we're coming back this year. This is going to be our year. I see Esty. Salute to Esty. I love Esty. She does great things. I'm just reading the chat now. Yeah, 2025 will be a year of justice. Thank you for saying it so well for me, Mandy. That's what I think I was trying to get to. Phew. Yeah, we do need Levy. But I'm going to go now. We'll see you soon. You never know. I may be back before the new year. I don't know. We'll see what happens. If I don't, like I said, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And if I do, well, we'll see ya. We'll see everyone soon. Again, have a great, safe, and happy holiday. Thank you again. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, 2025 better be the year of the turtle. We want him to be victorious in this. Yeah, it is Return of the Jedi. Thank you. All right. Have a great night. We'll see you soon.